Good afternoon. Just to update, we took a day off and we watched Baylor play and it's when you play the Monday night game, you get one extra day of rest. So we lightened the load on Wednesday and went hard yesterday. We'll go hard today, and looking forward to taking on a good Baylor team and. Hopefully we can get that support that we've had, here on the Coliseum on Saturdays, and I know the weather is going to be, a little bit sketchy. So I certainly appreciate every amount of support we continue to get from our fans, and that means the world to this team that's giving everything we got each and every night.
Josh, obviously, when teams struggle, sometimes they could check out a little bit late in the season. But your thought, effort and intensity, focus, they still there for you, practice games that you want?
I mean, there's times that the effort and the intensity, starts lagging, but I feel like they respond fairly well, in the majority of the moments. By no means, and that can be for a team that's playing really well this time of year, because we are in the dog days of the season in February. So, I was talking on the radio yesterday in terms of, our approach to practice and trying to figure out how we are most efficient with our time and to make sure we get the most out of each and every drill in terms of how it carries over to, the next scout and the next opponent you got. So certainly there's moments where you're lacking effort and we get them refocused. So we still have a lot of opportunity ahead of us, and that's the way we look at it.
After the TCU game, I think as part of your radio interview, you were saying that there would be some soul searching. What does that constitute at this point of the season, and what how was that process handled?
Yeah, I think more than anything, we all got to look at ourselves in the mirror and figure out what we can do better to help our program be successful, and that's top to bottom. I told them it starts with me. It starts with our coaching staff. So everybody in the program can find ways to improve and get better each and every day, and that's where we're at. We have to look at as today. What can we do today to improve? Can we be the best versions of ourselves today? And then wake up the next morning, the sun's going to come up, and let's figure out how we can be the best versions of ourselves the next day, and continue to find ways to improve and get better, because this is a long-term game for all of us, top to bottom, on our roster. A lot of these guys, even our seniors, they plan to play, professionally one way or another and make money at the game of basketball. So they have to understand that each and every day is an opportunity and a growth opportunity to get better as a professional as well, because they will, carry this forth in terms of how they, finish the season and how they carry themselves. I mean, they'll be judged from here on out, as we all will.
What do you see from Baylor?
A very balanced team, very, competitive from top to bottom. They seem to always load up on guards, and they have a guard heavy team, which not to take anything away from their forwards, but they've always had the strength in numbers with their guards, and it's no different this year. And the main thing, you look and you start diving into their roster and their stats, and I think they're very balanced scoring. I think the top 6 guys are right there at double-figure scoring, so there's not one guy that you key on. You key on one guy, and somebody else, beats you or you struggle with. So you can't do that. You got to look at them as a collective whole, and you got to guard them as a collective whole in terms of that whole mentality of us versus them, and loading up and helping each other. And nobody can feel like, and I continue to say this with our guys, nobody can feel like they're on the island guarding one guy. There's always help behind you, and that's what we got to approach the game.
You've gone through, obviously you've gone through a lot of personnel changes. You've tried different defensive looks. Are you comfortable with, when you're going into a game plan, so, okay, this, let's do this, or does that kind of change depending on the outlook of the opponent? What they.
Well, it's different each and every game, certainly you always have to try to prepare to have something in your pocket to change the game. And so, when things start to, if they do start going in the opponent's direction, you got to figure out how to change it. And there's times, we've had a couple opportunities and the games have slipped away because just nothing seemed to work no matter what angle you threw at them. And that's going to happen from time to time. You look at scores in this league and you see, Kansas, it was a perennial, champion basically in this league, and go to Texas Tech and you just get thumped. And so there's going to be nights where you just don't have it, and the home team will get the best of you in a lot of ways. So you just figure out how do you turn the page, and you figure out how do you learn from it and move on and grow.
Obviously, some coaches get associated with the type of defense. Boeheim, obviously, Huggins man-to-man, Bob Knight man-to-man. Did you, when you were coming into this year, did you have this is what our base defense is going to be, and this is what I want to hang my hat on? And has that changed a lot through all the changes?
We're kind of squeezed, and we're in really a pressure cooker situation, and trying to piece together the roster. You're taking whatever piece you could possibly that could help you late. That you didn't have a lot of options.
Right.
So to answer your question, so the way I look at things, and if I had a big picture, long-term plan as to how I want to play defensively, you can kind of throw that out the window in this situation.
Sure.
So you got to play to the personnel that you have. So you try to get the best personnel you can possibly get in a late summer situation, and then you figure out what's going to put them in the best positions to succeed. You don't have the time to try to recruit to the idea of what you want to do. So that kind of hinders you in that way. So the situation we were put in, you try to get the best available players and that can help you and immediately make an impact. But that doesn't necessarily help you in terms of recruiting to the system that you want to play.
Right.
So have we tried a lot of different things? Yes. But that was by necessity.
Sure.
To try to make ourselves, a competitive group night in, night out.
I guess that's kind of my point, is you never had that opportunity to, when you're game planning and practicing, instead of, you had to try. You had to not only try, but work on all
Yeah,
those.
and then with the management of the roster in terms of this guy's in, this guy's out.
Right.
We're adding these three guys. We're playing 6 or 7 man rotation for the first 9 games. That's going to be a little different strategy than when you have a little bit more depth and you can do things differently. And then you realize that that chemistry really isn't there, and the way we want to play isn't going to work. Then let's figure out how we simplify it and create a team environment on the defensive end to where everybody's helping one another and we're packing things in is where we kind of got to. Doesn't necessarily mean that's my philosophy by any means. It's just in the short term, in the moment, you got to figure out what you can do to be successful.
So you've done man 2-3, right? Pack line. You've done some full court stuff here and there. Have you made up anything? Is there anything that you guys haven't?
There's certainly some things that there's a lot of different defensive schemes you can go to, but it's hard, this time of year to have wholesale changes by any means. It was kind of hard to turn that page and have a wholesale change from what we were trying to do to I wouldn't say it's pack line by any means because we're not adopting all the pack line principles, but we're certainly heavier gap than we used to be.
Is it odd to, it's the new world. You look across and see Jalen Bridges. You just saw him last year, too. Does that still feel odd for a coach to look over on the other bench and see somebody who was on your bench for a long time?
Yeah, it's a little bit. I saw Jalen in Kansas City in the Big 12 media days, and I always had a wonderful relationship with Jalen. So I was excited to see him and give him a hug. I have no ill will towards Jalen by any means. And I don't think he has any ill will towards me. And so, it's strange. You create those relationships in the recruiting process, and you know their family, and you run into their family in the community, and to see them at Baylor and going against them, in a different colored jersey, it's a little bit probably be a little stranger for me being a head coach than it would be as an assistant. But I have no ill will towards Jalen whatsoever, and in this business, you want your guys to succeed one way or another, and I care about Jalen, and I hope he does well, just not against the Mountaineers.
How's he doing? When you scout him, what
No, he's playing his role for him and playing it at a high level. So, he's the guy that's going to play his role extremely well and shoot that basketball when he's open. And if I remember right, I think he's double night last time he had a chance to come in here at the Coliseum. So, hopefully we can stymie that a little bit this time.
Do you think, Josh, that when the portal came in and the NIL came in, they said there was going to, all these bigger, better schools were going to get all the great talent. In other words, we're going to have a super teams again. But has it worked the other way? Has it spread talent more?
Yeah, it has. I mean, the teams with the most resources are usually going to, catch up at the end of the day, and I think the teams that had the advantage in the last couple of years were the ones that, adapted well to the changes and adopted the changes, So, they weren't stuck in their ways, and they said, okay, we're going to embrace the NIL, we're going to embrace the immediate transfer, and we're going to run with it. So, but certainly at the end of the day, it's going to be whoever has the most resources. But you're going to find teams out there. They're certainly probably an outlier to where they found a way to keep and retain the majority of their players, and their chemistry is there, and they might not be the most talented team, but certainly they can beat people because they're just so well connected. And you're going to find that those programs and those teams from time to time that might upset someone, but because the next team down the road, and whether it be a high major that has been winning year in year out, just gets disconnected because they're kind of looking out for their own.
Sounds like what you're saying is that it's almost as important, your in-house recruiting of your own people, as scouring the.
Oh yeah, I mean
you'd rather keep the guy rather.
That's 100% the way you got to look at it, and especially from year to year turnover. I mean, you want to start from the inside out in terms of you're recruiting your own guys and the retention of the guys that helped you get where you're at, and that's probably where teams are going to find that they're going to narrow their focus when the season ends and before the portal opens up, that they're going to start with their own locker room before they go elsewhere.
I'm kind of curious on your opinion on this. I mean, because you were behind the scenes for a few years when the portal became the portal, and then obviously getting the situation that you were this year. Do you think it's possible for a team, say they have 10 scholarship open or X number, and they just go out and grab portal guys? Is it possible, and maybe they're highly ranked, or a good, is it possible for that scenario to really work? It all sounds good on paper, I get that.
Yes, it has everything to do with the mentality of those 10 guys. Are you getting 10 very competitive guys that love the game of basketball? Are you getting 10 competitive guys that want to do everything for their teammates and will do whatever it takes to win? And but there's programs that you see it, and there's some disconnect, and guys are kind of looking out for their own. And in the team sport, it doesn't work. So to have that chemistry, and you get the right character guys that would bad reference take a bullet for one another, but would certainly do that and do everything it takes to win. You certainly want to get those guys off winning programs that know how to win, that have that mentality and that competitive nature, that they want to do everything they can for the team to win.
just their stats from the previous.
Yeah, you can't just say, okay, this guy had 15 and 12, but came from a losing program, and he might be that cancer on that losing program. So there's a lot more factors when you're picking guys up and recruiting than just the stats in so many ways. And I think with our situation, I think more than anything, we got great guys and guys that want to win. I just try to put all those pieces together late and try to get them to all mesh. And when everybody else had a 2-3 month head start on you, that became our biggest concern and our biggest issue to try to overcome is the chemistry.
We only had part of it for one part for the other.
Yeah, so it was like kind of like somebody, who was it? Mike Gansey said it's like you're running a G League team, and it's kind of the way it felt there for the longest time. But now all of our pieces are here, and like I keep preaching to our guys, what's stopping us from maximizing our potential on the way out? We got everybody here, everybody that we thought we'd have from day one.
You added a few weeks ago Aiden Nelson, and so you knew he was a practice player, though he got a few minutes in the other day. So just effort, attitude, you getting out of him what you want? What's he been like?
He's a great high character kid and excited to be in the gym every day. Loves the game of basketball, and he has nothing. He's gaining nothing from this. I mean, he's doubling up his workouts with football and basketball, and he's one of the first ones in the gym and the last ones to leave, and just loves the game. And I think there's something to be said for that. Just having guys like that around the program that just want to be here and enjoy the game of basketball, enjoy the competitive nature of it, enjoy the camaraderie, and he's just an excellent human being and an excellent person, and excited to have him around each and every day.
The last couple of times where you've been able to just bring guys in off the bench to play late, Bembry hasn't been a part of that. Is he hurt, or is there anything with
no, he isn't hurt. Well, I mean, he had that nagging shoulder injury that carried over from the Florida trip, if you remember right. But he's looking at trying to get a medical red shirt. So he'd asked me he'd be pursuing that, and if it came down to it, we could certainly try to force the issue with putting him in. But in order for him to be eligible, he couldn't play in a certain amount of games past a certain amount, a certain time. So, so I respected his wishes, and we haven't thrown him in a situation like that.
I imagine he's probably pretty safe under the threshold.
Yeah.
It's like 10%.
Yeah, I believe it's right at that threshold when we looked into it. So he's going to be starting that process.
Coach, thank you.
Thank you.